Welcome to the Truth Corner. My name is Kama Burton with Loving Me First, and today's session is He Loves Me, He Loves Me Not. Love is a very strong word. I believe that it's more than just a feeling. I believe that love is an action. And a lot of us think we're in love, and sometimes it's just I don't know. I don't know if it's so much. I don't know if it's so much love or it's just tolerating somebody. I don't know what it is. I'm still trying to figure it out. But love is something that I thought I was in at a very young age. So my high school sweetheart, I remember the first time he told me he loved me. I was still 14 years old and laying on the floor at home getting ready to get off the phone because it's curfew, 9:30, time for me to get off the phone. And I had told him it was time for us to go and I'll talk to him tomorrow. And I remember him saying, I love you. And when he said those words, I paused and I was like, oh, okay, good night. And I hung up the phone. And after I hung up the phone, I started thinking, I said, oh my gosh, I didn't say I love him back. And I started asking myself, do I love him? I mean, I think about him and I get butterflies when I see him, but do I really love him? And then I said, well, if I don't say it back, then he's not going to love me back and he's not going to ever talk to me. So all this stuff started playing in my mind because I was afraid that if I didn't say I love you back, he wouldn't want me. So I went to school the next day and I talked to my friend and I told her, I said, girl, he said, I love you. She said, what did you say? I was like, I didn't say nothing but good night. But what if he doesn't want to talk to me no more? And so she was like, no, girl, take your time. You don't have to say I love you right away. She said, say it when you're ready. So I said, okay, I'll do that. Well, we would get off the phone a couple of times after that and we would say, I love you. And finally, or he would say it, and finally I said, I love you too. And I remember smiling. I said, okay. It felt good. It felt like it was right. But as time went on, things started happening in our relationship. So there's this game or I won't say game, there was this thing I used to do when I was a kid with friends, and we used to take a little flower and we'll pick from that flower and we would say, he loves me, he loves me not. He loves me, he loves me not. And whatever was left on that last petal is what was supposed to be the truth. So either he loves me or he loves me not. Well, October came around and I was talking to a friend of mine and she said, girl, we'll just call him he's on his way over here. And I said, oh, okay. She was like, yeah, we're going to Knoxberry Farm with a friend of hers. I was like, oh, okay. And she was like, are you guys still together? I said, yeah. And she said, well, I just want to let you know he's going to Knoxberry Farm with her, so she'll be her. And I said, what? I said, no, you sure we're talking about the same person? She was like, yeah, girl, he's on his way. He's just called and said he's about to walk around here, and we all going up there, me and my dude and this person. So they're going to Knoxberry Farm as a couple. And I remember being on the phone. I'm hurt now at this point, praying that what she's telling me is just not true. So he walks in the house and I heard his voice. And she said, my friend said, Kama's on the phone. He was like, oh shoot, but he used some other words. And he left out the room. And I remember I was devastated because I was thinking, what in the world just happened? This person that I say I love you and he loves me and that I'm the only person in the world and all this is happening, I'm thinking it's just all about me. And I come to find out he loves me not. They went on to Knoxberry Farm, and I recall being in my daybed that day or that evening, and I cried as if somebody died, and it hurt. I cried myself to sleep. I woke up in tears, and he didn't call me right away because he already knew what he did was absolutely wrong. And it hurt me because my thing is always, if you don't want to be with me, let me go. Don't cheat on me. Don't go to somebody else. Just let me go. So it was a very, very hard time in my life at that moment. And I remember my mom was asking me to do things around the house, and I didn't want her to know how hurt I was. And I remember I was washing clothes. She told me to clean up my room, and I was just sick to my stomach. Well, after a couple of days went by, he called me and he told me, well, we're just friends and that there's nothing, it's not like that. And we were still kind of together, but I just decided to call it quits. I just said, you know what, I can't do it. Just go to her. And I remember letting him go at that time. But it was hard because, again, being young, being in love, thinking that this is it, because when we're with somebody, they always feel like they are the one. I don't care what age you are. You could be 14, you could be 10, you could be 45. It doesn't matter. We feel like he is the one. His words, his touch, what he says to us, it just feels like he's the one. One thing about him was he never called me like babe or baby or sweetie or honey or any of that. I was always just common. Was just a common thing throughout my relationship, and it didn't really mean much to me at the time. So we had a connection, but there was still some type of disconnect that was there that I could not put my finger on. But at the same time, I still wanted him. I did. So a couple of years later, I ended up meeting up with him. We were at a park that he lived down the street from, and we seen each other. I was signing up. My little brother was getting ready for football. I was helping him get signed up or do his physical, and he was there, and we talked, and we had a conversation about the whole entire situation. And he was talking about how he was young and he shouldn't have did that. And, so of course, time had went by. It was probably about 9 months that had went by. And so I gave him a pass. I said, okay, cool. I'm going into my 9th grade year. My 11th grade year. He's going into his senior year. And hey, we matured. We're now 16 and 17 years old. So we're now more mature. So we ended up talking again, and we got back together. And we actually had a pretty good relationship. I never had to deal with any type of verbal abuse in the sense of me being cussed out or called out of my name or anything like that. I just dealt with him as a friend. We had fun when we hung out. That's the thing about us, was that we had a lot of fun when we hung out. So we just decided, hey, we're gonna try this again, kind of see where it was going. He was still on my mind. I did talk to other guys in the interim when we weren't together. I would talk to other guys, but we decided to do this again, and immediately I fell right back in love with him. So we started talking, and then we started dealing with that. Break up to make up, that's all we do. First you love me, then you hate me. That's what we did. That was us. So we were back and forth, and it wasn't as steady as it was. I will say the first time we were together, steady, it was only like 5 months. When I think about it, from March to October, so that was 7 months. I think about 7 months. What was I thinking? So it felt like an eternity, but there were times we were breaking up to make up, but I was in love. And the love that I felt was that he only seen me for who I was. I can be me around him. I didn't have to be anybody else. And that's one thing I tell people: if you cannot be who you are with a person, that's not who you need to be with. So there was things that I didn't see in him that I should have paid attention to, such as watching or such as hanging out with people who ask me, who that is. I had some very close male friends, and I'm very close to guys. My closest friends have always been guys. Never has to be anything intimate or trying to get with me or anything like that. But he didn't like that. But I was confident in who my friends were. So I started seeing things early enough that I didn't pay attention to. Although I seen it, I didn't see it. They say hindsight is 20/20. I just seen that I was in love. I had this feeling of being in love with somebody who I realized later on in life, he was not truly in love with me. And that's my truth.